What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Goose Games. It is your friend the Goose, and the Goose is loose. Ha! And we are back here today with another one of my top 10 videos. So my thought process behind these top 10 videos, it's the best way to let you guys into my thought process. Let you guys know what my favorite things are. It kind of lets you guys into my thought process, and when I share my opinions, it informs those opinions, I suppose. And the top 10 lists are going to be about the things I care most about in terms of like content and in terms of sports, games, whatever it is. And today is my top 10 wrestlers. I'm a big wrestling fan. I was huge into wrestling as a kid. Then I dropped out for a while. So I watched for the Attitude Era, which for those of you that don't know, that's like Rock, Austin, Undertaker, Triple H. It's like the late 90s. I watched the beginning of the Ruthless Aggression era where like it was Eddie, Angle, Cena coming in, Batista coming in, Evolution was huge. Brock. And then I dropped off. And I come back around WrestleMania 27, which was weird to see The Miz in the main event of the first WrestleMania that I watched coming back as a fan. That was strange. And it's maybe the worst WrestleMania I've watched to this point since. Terrible WrestleMania. But and I've been watching wrestling regularly again since about WrestleMania 27, which I guess is like 8 years ago. And when I say watching regularly, I read the Bleacher Report breakdowns of every episode. I don't necessarily have the time to sit down and watch 5 hours of content every week. And that's not including NXT and all of the network stuff. It's just become too much content in the wrestling world. So I keep up with the results and I watch every pay-per-view. I do my pay-per-view predictions. But enough preamble, enough leading into it. Let's jump right in. I'm going to start with my honorable mentions. There are some massive names on here that might surprise people that they're not in my top 10. Batista is my first honorable mention. I love Batista. He had a presence, which I think his natural charisma and presence is what has led to him having a natural career in Hollywood. Another Hollywood guy. This is going to shock people on my honorable mention. The Rock. He is not in my top 10 favorites. He's in my top 5 best ever, but he's not in my favorites. In the Attitude Era, I don't know, like Stone Cold was always my guy, as you'll find out later. The Undertaker as well. There were just a lot of guys ahead of The Rock. The Rock was incredible, and I acknowledge how phenomenal he was. In terms of my favorites, though, he didn't raise to the level of some of the other people. Lita is one of my honorable mentions. One of my first crushes as a child when she was with Team Extreme with the Hardys, wearing all the mesh and the headbanging. AJ Lee, massive fan of AJ Lee. Kevin Owens, big fan Kevin Owens. I just feel like he's one of my favorites. They haven't used him right in so long. It's hard to put him there. And then Shinsuke Nakamura and Kane are my final two honorable mentions. Those are guys that were close to the list. Shinsuke is another one similar to Kevin Owens. If he had been a main eventer for the last 5 years, I'd feel better about putting him in my list. But I don't know. Not that all of my guys are surefire main eventers, but most of them are. So getting into number 10, I've talked a lot recently about who my two favorite female wrestlers ever are. And my number 2 starts off this list with Asuka. I'm a massive Asuka fan. I think she's been one of the best female wrestlers, one of the best wrestlers in the world for the last decade. When she got to NXT and just started her reign, that undefeated streak was incredible. Asuka had this intensity. It always felt like a big fight. The commitment to the character and the manic energy. Heel Asuka was phenomenal. Babyface Asuka, no matter how you book Asuka, she's phenomenal. In the last year or 2 or 3, even, I don't know, We found out how funny she is as well, her comedic timing. I pissed myself the segment of her yelling in the court scene. Oh my god. She's comedic gold. The segment between her and Becky where Becky announced her pregnancy and Asuka's reaction. Beautiful. And in the ring, she's just she kicks so much ass in the ring. Just that like Japanese strong style, lays it in stiff. She's a submission specialist. I can't believe they had her lose and tap out to Charlotte to end her streak. That Royal Rumble will forever piss me off because they booked the right winners in Shinsuke and Asuka, and then they fucking buried both of them at WrestleMania. But besides the point, I love that WWE seem to know what they have in Asuka. She's always involved in one of the title scenes. Whether it's a heel as a face, as a dominant tag team with Kairi Sane that I really enjoyed. Asuka is just the total package and my 10th favorite wrestler. Number 9, Mr. Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio, man, he is the ageless wonder. He has found the fountain of youth because he gets in the ring today in 2020 and moves in the same way he did in 2004 and 5. It's insane. Back when I was starting, I didn't, as a wrestling fan, I never really watched WCW, but Rey Mysterio was somebody I went out of my way to watch and find clips on and stuff like that. And his natural athleticism is it's unmatched. Like back in the day, the Halloween Havoc match with Eddie Guerrero. Oh my God, one of the greatest matches ever. His fluidity in the ring. It's like Ross Tweddell on Cultaholic Wrestling uses the phrase liquid wrestling. When it's so fluid, it's like poetry in motion. Like Ray is the king of that stuff. Ray just makes everything look so smooth. And in terms of a character, I mean, he's maybe the greatest underdog in wrestling history. Um, for a man of his size, and he's been a babyface his entire career, as far as I know. I don't remember him being a heel at any point. He it was just a constant role model, and he was a role model when I was a kid. Like when everything happened with Eddie passing away, and they did a lot with Ray to make people understand the grieving process for themselves because Eddie dying was real for young kids at the time watching, but they were characters, but they're real because wrestling is this weird thing where the character and the line is kind of blurred. But they did a lot with Ray, in my opinion, about how to grieve and how to empower yourself through grieving and how to not think less of yourself for grieving. It was just a very powerful, moving thing. Ray's incredible. I mean, even to this day, the stuff he did with Seth Rollins recently, they had great matches. It's just the storyline got a little wild. Even when Ray went away and did everything he did around the world and all the different companies was phenomenal. And the worst thing about Ray is he never got the right run. Like when he had the world heavyweight title, they just had a bunch of giants beat his ass. And that's just why. I don't get it. Like they had him lose so many non-title matches to the big guys and then he'd eke it out in the actual match, but I don't know. I wish they would have booked Ray's championship reigns a little better. He also recently made one of my favorite Rey Mysterio matches ever happened, I want to say, at the 2019 Survivor Series against Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. That match was lit. That match was wild, man. Rey Mysterio can still work at a main event level at the highest scene in wrestling. So, between staying power, athleticism, character consistency, Rey Mysterio, my 9th favorite. Number 8. When I was a kid, this man was probably number 1. It's Mankind, Mick Foley, Cactus Jack, Dude Love. Mick Foley is my 8th favorite wrestler of all time. Mick Foley personifies the everyman. Um, my God, his commitment to the characters in the early Attitude Era when he was Mankind, he was haunting. When he was doing those promos in the boiler rooms, and he had the mask was like Hannibal Lecter-ish, and he had the glove on his hand that was fucked up, and he talked about his mommy, and he would scream. It was it was really scary, actually. As a kid, it was like deranged, like it was fucked up to watch. And now looking back, like the character work is just top notch. Mick Foley is one of the best characters in wrestling history. And when I say that, it's the three faces of Foley. There's Mankind, the psychologically twisted, demented stepchild in a way that his character is. He feels shunned. But then he's also, as Mankind, one of the best baby faces ever. He got the biggest pop of all time when he won the champion. Well, maybe Stone Cold's entrance got the biggest pop. But right after the biggest pop of all time, Mick Foley won the WWE title on Monday Night Raw from The Rock. And the WWE never lost another night in the ratings war. Like, Mankind was at the heart of the Attitude Era, man. You can say what you want about Austin, Taker, Rock, Triple H. Mankind, Mick Foley, Cactus Jack, whatever you needed him to do, he was there. He could be your number one babyface. He could be your number one heel. Now, another reason he resonated so much with me as a kid, he's chubby. He's pudgy. He's fat. I don't mean that in a rude way, but he's a heavy-set man. And it's I was watching the Stone Cold Undertaker podcast, and they were like, the thing about Mick is he knew he was no Shawn Michaels, so he never tried to be Shawn Michaels. He never was gonna outwork you in the ring, but he was gonna out Mick Foley you. He was gonna out character you. He was going to tell a psychological story in the ring with you. And that's what maybe nobody was ever better than at Mick Foley was psychology in the ring and storytelling. He's a best-selling author, which doesn't surprise me. Storytelling. He does stand-up comedy, storytelling. Mick Foley is also known as being one of the most genuinely kind, compassionate, and just loving people in the wrestling business ever, which resonates a lot with me. That's beautiful. I think even if we're not talking about the individual, when you find out that somebody is a great person like that, it just makes you cheer for them that much more. And I mean, I haven't even touched on the fact that Mick Foley is the greatest hardcore wrestler ever and the hardcore icon. He the when he got thrown off the Hell in a Cell, it's the most iconic wrestling in the most iconic moment in wrestling history, bar none. And then to get back on top of that cage and get chokeslammed through it, oh my God, getting speared through a flaming table, getting thrown off the stage into a dumpster. Mick Foley did so much to his body for the fans, and I hope we never forget how much he gave physically when he didn't have to. My God, he went so long and just took so many bumps. He had a great run as Commissioner Foley in the early Ruthless Aggression. He was a Raw GM recently. They kind of cucked him with Stephanie, but yeah, the McMahons, you know. But Mick Foley has a real special place in my heart, and he's my number 8. Number 7, my favorite female wrestler of all time, the Boss, Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks is the absolute total package. Sasha Banks, in my opinion, could main event a WrestleMania any given year. I think she is the best of the 4 horsewomen, consisting of Bayley, Becky, Sasha, Charlotte. I think Sasha is the best on the mic. I think she's the best in the ring. Now, she might not be the best athlete. That's Charlotte. She might not be the best character. That might be the man. But I think she's the best total package of any of those wrestlers, and I think she's the most full package in wrestling today. And it's funny because I think the best thing she does is be a heel. I got instantly hooked on her when she was in NXT as the Boss and as the heel. She would come out on the pay-per-views in the Escalade with like the security service and shit. She has this like electric swagger that just can't be denied. when you talk about the it factor and that natural charisma, like when I think about it, people that have it right now in the WWE, and Sasha still does, but I saw it early with her. I see it now in Bianca Belair and Montez Ford. It's that young spark, that young confidence, that young charisma that shines through, and Sasha is the queen of that. Um, she every time if Sasha gets told to like in a wrestling match make somebody look really strong, oh my god, she makes it look like she's dying every time she takes a bump. When like they throw her, they'll hit her with a superplex off the top rope. The way she can sell and the way she contorts her body on the way down, she always makes it look like her opponent is beating the shit out of her. And I give her so much credit for that. You're getting your opponent over. You're making them look like $1,000,000 at that point. Like there have been so many times where Sasha is selling so well. I'm like, holy shit, is she actually hurt? And the only reason Sasha's not higher on my list and even more relevant in WWE is probably her injury history. She's been banged up through her career here and there. And I think that's why they've been reluctant to always give her a consistent title run. They hot shot it, but it looks like right now they're finally cashing in fully. I think the Golden Role Model run with Sasha was incredible. Her and Bayley as the heels. I think they really stole the summer for the WWE and for the wrestling world. They were the talk of the wrestling world, the Golden Role Models. They were phenomenal. I wanted them on every show every week. They should have had a really long run. They hot-shotted the tag titles. They should have just had like a 5-month run of beating everybody in every brand everywhere. Like, they are two of the best wrestlers in the world right now. Bayley's doing some of the best work of her career for sure, and Sasha was helping her a lot with that. I almost wish they could have kept that going longer, but unfortunately they messed up delaying the Bayley Sasha split up so long that you couldn't extend it. I get it. You had to cash in. Hell in a Cell. Holy hell, their Hell in a Cell match was a 5-star match of the year candidate in my opinion. It was a classic. Sasha versus Becky versus Charlotte at Mania. The triple threat stole the show that year. I thought it was the match of the night on that Mania card. She should have won the title that night. That whole entrance with her and Snoop, I was like, okay, this night is the night Sasha Banks like cements herself as a star. You have Snoop do her entrance. She fucking owned that entrance too. And then, like, I think Charlotte goes over because, of course, she does. But I think Sasha is one of the best wrestlers of our generation, and I am a massive fan, and she is my number 7. Number 6, it's true. It's damn true. It's Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle is such a unique story. He's a legitimate gold medalist. This motherfucker won gold medals wrestling for our country. And they just turned that right into a wrestling character. And never in the history of wrestling has somebody picked up the business and the everything, the microphone, the in-ring stuff, the psychology, the comedy, the timing. Nobody's ever picked it all up as quickly as Kurt Angle did. Ronda Rousey picked it up pretty quickly recently, but still not at the level Kurt did. Kurt was an immediate main event player. Kurt, like I said, he's a gold medalist for the Olympics. His athleticism is just unfathomable. It's Olympic level. That's how athletic he is. Like, that's the biggest compliment you can give. How athletic are you? Olympic level. That's what he was in the ring. And he was a technician like nobody else. Like, the way he could just take you down to the mat and tie you in knots or outpower you with suplexes, break you down. He would target your body parts. He was a surgeon. He was my era's Bret Hart. And in terms of a character, he could do it all. He could be your number one heel. He could be your number one babyface. He could do whatever you needed him to do. He was incredible in comedy. His whole run with Brock Lesnar was so fucking funny when they were building to the Mania match. Oh my god, all the backstage segments with them like trying to one up each other when they're counting push-ups for each other and Kurt starts messing up when Kurt takes a big gulp of milk, Brock hits him on the back and he spits milk all over the chick in front of him. Oh my god, Kurt Angle's a powerhouse, man. Oh my god, Brock Lesnar's in my honorable mentions as well. He was on this list and I did a reworking and he fell off of the list. The only reason he's not on the list is because WWE shoved him down our throat way too hard and it became intolerable and it became annoying and it built resentment towards Lesnar. That's the only reason he's not on my list. But you can't talk about Kurt without talking about Brock. Their matches were epic. The Mania main event, incredible. If he hits that shooting star, it's the greatest main event ever. Maybe like that was an incredible match. The Iron Man match on SmackDown is one of the greatest matches ever wrestled, in my opinion. Kurt did a lot of fun work with The Undertaker. His stuff with Austin was the most entertaining stuff about the dog shit invasion angle. Oh yeah, if you want to know what I think about the invasion, it was dog shit. But Kurt, he does everything you need him to do. He's a premier athlete. He's one of the greatest of all time. Kurt Angle, number 6. Okay, we're at 21 minutes, halfway through. I'll try to get this done quicker. Number 5, The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt, man. If you're seeing a theme with my list, it's characters. It's people that know how to compel an audience. I mean, I'm an actor. These are the things I look for. Bray Wyatt is one of the best storytellers of this era of wrestling. I think ever since I've never been so drawn to a character by the vignettes. I think that's how you pronounce it. Vignettes. Vignettes. It's like videos that show for... My hair's a mess, guys. It's like videos that hint at a new character debuting. And the stuff with Bray in the swamp looking like De Niro in Cape Fear with the cult mentality and the, hey man, and that real cool talk, that southern drawl. Oh man, it was so cool. Like, as an actor, I was like, I want to play that character that he's created. That's how compelling of a character it is. And his performance is incredible. I genuinely think Bray Wyatt, I think his real name is, it's Rotunda. I don't know his... What is Bray Wyatt's first name? Oh, it doesn't matter. Rotunda, Bray Wyatt. He can be an actor in his career after wrestling. His character work is breathtaking. And I think his mind for wrestling is one of the elite ones of our era. He's so creative. Everything he did with the Wyatt family was incredible. His dark, twisted monologues, the manipulation, anything that ever went wrong with the Wyatt family was directly tied to the way WWE booked and presented it, not by the way it was performed. They never fully got what they could have got out of the Wyatt family, and now, thank God, they're finally, for the last few years, Bray Wyatt has been a main event talent, getting world title runs regularly. Like, this is where he belongs, and I'm so happy he's finally at that level. He's, what's the saying? Ferrari engine in a tank body. Like, Bray Wyatt can go. Bray Wyatt can wrestle, man. The Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, Wyatt's versus Shield, iconic. Oh my God, the Shield-Wyatt feud is one of the greatest of the last 10 years. One of my favorites ever. Bray on the mic, Bray in the ring. The thing about Bray, and like I said, everybody on this list, they bring their characters into the ring. I don't like wrestlers where it's like a lot of the 205 Live syndrome. What's your character? I wrestle good. But what's your character? I'm a good wrestler and I'm gonna out-wrestle you. That's not a character. So a lot of times, it all just falls flat and you don't stick out. Bray creates a character in his off-screen stuff and then lives that character in the ring and wrestles as that character. He doesn't drop the character just to become a worker and wrestle and get a 5-star match. He stays in character and does what he needs to do as an athlete in character to sell it. And that it's at another level than most people can ever hope to get to. He was one of my favorites ever before the Fiend stuff. The Fiend, right now, depending on how the rest of his career goes, is like the third coolest character ever created in WWE. I only put him behind Undertaker and Kane, and I think he might go ahead of Kane if his career gets handled the right way, if he has some signature feuds. I think it's heartbreaking that apparently Taker has no interest in another cinematic match, because I'm sorry, we need the Fiend and the Undertaker. Like, Undertaker, I'm sorry, like, good for you for going out on your own, but can you get this guy over before you go? Please, you've already extended your career so goddamn long. Give this guy a Firefly Funhouse match at next WrestleMania and let that segment happen. He deserves it. But if not, you just got to do good stories with the people you have on the roster right now. But the Fiend has been the dual personality stuff with Mr. Rogers and the Funhouse and then the Fiend. Just incredible. And when I started to get afraid it might get stale, they add Alexa Bliss into it and inject it so full of fun and life. I think everything they're doing with Bray Wyatt right now is, I don't know if they're always booking him right, but the Firefly Funhouse stuff and everything is being written and performed to perfection. It's just a matter now of how WWE books him, who they have him feud with. Is he always going for the title? He feels like he doesn't need the title. Don't get fixated with him having the title. Make it about him and the character. Number 4, Eddie Guerrero. One of the greatest of all time, unquestionably. The most charismatic, charming human in like wrestling ever, in my opinion. I think of him more so like I think he's more charismatic and more of an electric character than The Rock, quite frankly. God, if we could have ever gotten that match, both in their prime, main eventing a pay-per-view for a title, give him 20 minutes and go. Oh God, Eddie Guerrero is an icon. Eddie Guerrero, I can't even describe. He was so lovable in anything he did. You could feel his constant passion and dedication to the craft of wrestling. You always knew about the respect he had backstage. His fellow wrestlers loved Eddie. He was a locker room, like the heart of the locker room. As Eddie goes, the locker room goes. He walks into a room, if he's off, everybody's off. Eddie had that electric kind of energy about him. In the ring, my God, what I said earlier about Ray and the fluidity, it's that, but in a bigger frame now. Like Eddie's still a cruiserweight in size, but he was as full size as a cruiserweight could be. He had a solid chest, upper body. Just, I mean, if I feel like I don't even need to describe it because you all know, and if you don't, go back and educate yourself and watch Eddie Guerrero. My God, his match with Brock Lesnar where he won the title. Oh my God. I don't care if people say the storyline got goofy. The ladder match with Ray at SummerSlam for the custody of Dom. That's an iconic storyline. I don't care if it was a little far-fetched. That's iconic as hell. And it's to Eddie and Ray, anytime they worked together, it was 5-star. It was the character work, the brotherhood, the camaraderie, the family element that you could always feel, the love. Anytime Eddie got to work with Chavo, too, you could feel the same kind of electricity. My God, the little video packages of Eddie and Chavo back in the day when they'd like, I can't even remember them. I feel like they were on like a lowrider golf cart in a golf course with a bunch of old white guys. Like just all the fun stuff they used to have them doing. Eddie coming out in the vehicles is iconic. Oh my God, Viva la Rat, the music kicking in. Oh man, Eddie Guerrero taken far too soon. One of the people who a celebrity where when they died I cried a lot. One of my best friends and me really bonded over how much we loved Eddie, and losing him. God, that ripped a hole in the wrestling business, man. Like he had so much more to do. It felt like. Um, I really think if the matches he could have had in the years, Shawn Michaels, The Rock, Brock again, Kurt. Oh my God. Eddie Guerrero, an icon of the wrestling business, one of the best in ring technicians of all time, one of the best high flyers of all time. He has the best 5-star frog splash of all time. I will not take any other submissions. It's Eddie. He has the best frog splash. You still see people do the three amigo suplexes in honor of him every so often. It all chokes you up a little bit to see it. Eddie, man, Eddie was a force of nature in wrestling and as a person. And God rest his soul, man. Taken far too young. Eddie Guerrero, my fourth favorite wrestler ever. All right, we're over the half hour mark, and it's time for the top three. Number three, the greatest professional wrestler of all time in my book when you consider height of the business, the tickets they sold, the character they were, what they meant to the era they lived in. Stone Cold Steve Austin. The top three could have been switched. He could have been two, he could have been one, but he's three. And Stone Cold Steve Austin is the greatest of all time. He was the number one guy in the biggest boom period in wrestling history. He's the biggest main event star of all time. I don't think any other wrestler's music hitting gets the same response that Stone Cold Steve Austin's gets. I think the fact that he never came back to the ring adds a lot to his legacy. So many of these old guys come back. Shawn fucking came back. Respect to him for never coming back. His run at the top was unlike anybody else. When he stunned Vince for the first time, when he won the King of the Ring, and he cut that legendary promo on Jake. Oh my God. Your Bible thumping. Austin 316 says, I just whooped your ass. That's the night he became a star. Like, Stone Cold, he always would have gotten there, but that promo after he beat Jake, whew. Geez, then you think of some of the things he did. His trilogy at Mania with The Rock, The Highway to Hell, still might be the best video package ever for, what is that, the 98 SummerSlam with him and Taker in the main event. Jeez, even before he became the Rattlesnake, unfortunately, a lot of his time at the top, he was banged up. He had a lot of recurring injuries, so I don't think we ever got the 100% Stone Cold at the top for very long. He always had a lot to deal with physically. His broken neck in the middle of his career changed a lot. But I mean, I don't think I need to say that much because nobody's going to debate me. Stone Cold's the best ever. I mean, the only people I think you can have in the argument are Stone Cold, Hulk Hogan, which fuck Hulk Hogan, the human. Stone Cold, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, and The Undertaker. That's probably the four I'll take an argument on. Otherwise, I don't know. Oh, and another honorable mention, he just came into my head. Macho Man Randy Savage. I love that guy. His stuff was incredible, but I never watched him. Like, you'll see nobody on this list is old era. These are the people I watched. I can't put somebody I didn't see anything of on my list, you know? But yeah, the stuff Stone Cold and Vince McMahon, Stone Cold and The Rock, Stone Cold and The Undertaker, Stone Cold and Triple H. The stuff Stone Cold probably shouldn't have turned heel and aligned with Austin at that Mania, but the heel segments we got with Stone Cold were incredible. Him, Jimmy Crack Gordon, I don't care. People say that was like too goofy for him. I don't care. He was fucking hysterical. Like his deadpan heel persona. Sorry, my nose is just killing me. That deadpan persona, and then you have Kurt Angle being goofy with him, Vince, Deborah. Oh my goodness. Shit. Um, yeah, but Stone Cold, he's a legend, and he is my number 3. Oh, funny story. I went to meet the Big Show one time, and oh goodness, having a sneezing attack in a video I said I wasn't gonna edit. God damn it. All right, guys, I'm not gonna edit this video, so bear with me. I have sanitizer. Um, so I went to meet the Big Show in Bayonne, New Jersey when I was a kid, and I wore my Stone Cold shirt. And when I walked up to the Big Show to meet him. He goes, "Who's your favorite wrestler?" I looked at him, I looked at my shirt, I threw up the double birds, and I said, "Stone Cold Steve Austin, motherfucker." And the Big Show laughed his ass off and said, "That kid's fucking cool." Then he flirted with my mom and proceeded to sing Backstreet Boys to my sister because of her shirt. So yeah, I flipped off the Big Show, double bird style, right here, and said, "Stone Cold Steve Austin, motherfucker." So that tells you what kind of person I've been since a young age. Stone Cold Steve Austin, my number 3. My number 2. If you know me, you probably know who my 1 and 2 are. Number 2, rest in peace. The Undertaker. He's a legend. He just finished up his run. He just finally retired. Good for you, man. I wish you could do one more cinematic match with Bray Wyatt. God damn it. But The Undertaker is an icon. The Undertaker is on any Mount Rushmore of wrestling ever, simply because he's the best character in wrestling history. When you think of the pure best wrestler, I think it's probably like Shawn, Brett, and Flair. But when you think of the best characters, nobody will debate you. Number 1, The Undertaker. He lived his gimmick for so long, like in the 80s and 90s. Was it as early as the 80s? I don't know. I wasn't alive. But when the Undertaker gimmick started, up all the way up until the Attitude Era, he didn't do public appearances. He wore all black everywhere he went. He kept the dead persona. Like, he lived it. It changed his life, and he decided to change his life in the way he got to live his life for the business, for the sake of this character being as legitimate as it could with fans. And because of that, he's an icon, and he's one of the greatest of all time. He's maybe the greatest big man wrestler ever in terms of size and athleticism. My God, I mean, he can walk the top ropes like a cat. In his prime, he could do a flip over the top rope like nothing. When he gets the steam going, running those ropes, he was a freight train. Um, I really loved him as a kid. I had a VHS of The Undertaker when he was like building the coffins and stuff to put Ultimate Warrior in. The Boiler Room brawls with Mankind. The Mankind Undertaker stuff is the most iconic memories I have of wrestling from my childhood. Mankind versus The Undertaker in Hell in a Cell. Mankind versus Undertaker in a Boiler Room brawl. Like, these things were so outlandish and wild that it grabbed me. When you think of all the different incarnations of The Undertaker, the original, then there's the one that started to talk more, then he became like the gothic one, then he's the corporate ministry, now he's kidnapping Stephanie and trying to impregnate her, and he's got Stone Cold tied up to a fucking like a cross in his own symbol. He wants to embalm Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, that character went all over the place, and it was perfect in that time. Like, he felt like a cult leader from a deranged sci-fi universe, and it was incredible. And then you start to talk about, like, when he became the American Badass. Um, a lot of people didn't like it. I thought it was fucking awesome. I don't know. I mean, my dad was like a biker when I was growing up. He wore the leather jackets, hung out with Hell's Angels, all that good stuff. I live in Jersey, so that's a thing. I don't know where you live, the Hell's Angels were active, but for me they were. So I was always attracted to the biker style. So then he comes out like Harley with the leather and the chain wallet, like it was incredible. Keep rolling, 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 rolling. What? Give me a little Limp Biscuit. That's when he really got to just show off himself more and develop a new style in the ring of wrestling where he got to show off his athleticism. Because for so long, doing the dead man gimmick, it's like punch, punch, choke slam, tombstone, match over. But with this dead man gimmick, he got to start high flying. He got to start moving around the room. Like he had that ladder match with Jeff Hardy that's iconic. Where after I say the word iconic way too much, I'm sorry. Where after the ladder match, even though he retained, he like raises Jeff Hardy's hand. The backstage scene where he shakes John Cena's hands after his debut. Something you could always tell about the Undertaker is he wanted to give back to the business and he was always willing to help young guys. He put Randy Orton over huge. He helped put Kennedy over, Mr. Kennedy back in the day. There was a lot of people Undertaker helped. And then he came back as the Dead Man for like the 2006 on, and it was the best of everything. It was the best of the character. It was the best of his in-ring work. The Manias with Shawn, the Mania match with Punk. The Undertaker is the greatest character in wrestling history and my second favorite wrestler ever. My number one favorite wrestler ever. Let me go 10-2 on you. Asuka, Rey Mysterio, Mick Foley, Sasha, Kurt, Bray, Eddie, Stone Cold, Undertaker, and CM Punk. CM Punk is my favorite wrestler of all time. When I came back to wrestling, he was already like the new Nexus guy. I came back right as the summer of Punk kicked off, and he is the reason I came back and stayed with wrestling. I would have moved right on and probably never watched again. Like I would have been like, John Cena, The Miz, what the hell? Like it was a terrible WrestleMania 27. But like I think did Punk work Orton? And they had a great match that ended in a top rope RKO. But I started to see this guy CM Punk, and he really just grabbed me with his microphone work. Is just next level, like an actor. Like I really think wrestlers don't call it acting because they like to have the special aura of the wrestling entertainment side of it, but it's acting what they're doing. And I don't think actors want to call it acting because they think it lessens what they do, but fuck you. Um, CM Punk is one of the best actors WWE ever had. Like, he's fully committed to a character, he has built a character completely from the inside out, made it completely himself from the times he was wrestling in Chicago in like backyard federations that he built all the way to working the indies to ROH and then once he started developing the straight edge thing, oh my god. I missed all of straight edge society. I didn't catch that. Like I said, by the time I jumped back in, straight edge society had come and gone. But since then, I had got so into Punk, I was like, I need to go see what else this guy has done. I found the straight edge society stuff and it was like, oh my god, this guy's a legend. He's like the psychology of Mick Foley, the body slash physicality of, I don't even know what to compare him to. CM Punk, I think, is very much his own style. Or he was the first of his style that I saw. He's like smaller Undertaker. He uses that MMA style, the kicks, the submissions, the ground and pound, the Muay Thai, the Jiu-Jitsu. And obviously he got into UFC later, which if you make fun of him for that, fuck you. This dude left WWE, Do you know how much money he walked away from to leave WWE? It's life-changing amounts of money he left. And he left that. Now, granted, he got paid plenty on the backside from UFC, but that's besides the point. He gave up the number one spot in a wrestling company and financial security to go pursue a real passion, something he needed to know if he could do. And if you mock him for that, fuck you. And I hope you do go follow your dream like he did. I hope you one day realize what you're mocking him for is what you wake up every day hoping you can do, which is pursue the thing you love. He loved mixed martial arts since he was younger. He wanted to fucking pursue it in the ring. Fuck you for saying he shouldn't. But the whole Summer of Punk thing, it's another case of CM Punk did everything right to be booked as the number one guy in the company, and instead WWE booked it like shit. They booked the woman-beating scumbag Alberto Del Rio to keep getting the title. They kept overbooking John Cena in the main event scene. They literally had Triple H just beat CM Punk at Night of Champions because Triple H's ego isn't fucking big enough. Fuck Triple H, by the way. You notice he wasn't in my honorable mentions. Like, they did everything they could to bury CM Punk, and every night on Raw, he came out to the loudest reaction and the biggest pop of the night. And every night, it was in the middle of the show because they didn't even let him main event. They kept putting John Cena and John Laurinaitis in the big show in the main events. But then you have this guy, CM Punk, who's the most over dude in your company since, I don't know, 05 Batista? Like, who is the last guy to be as over as Punk? Before the Summer of Punk, think of that Money in the Bank reaction he got. That's the greatest match ever, by the way. I'm trying to compile a top 10 matches of all time. Spoiler alert, number 1, John Cena, CM Punk, Money in the Bank. It's the best match ever. Storytelling, psychology, athleticism, everything. Best match ever. Biggest reaction ever. I could say pretty confidently, I think Punk was the most over wrestler since Stone Cold Steve Austin when he was getting over right there. And the WWE did everything they could to stifle it. And frankly, by the time they gave him the massive title run they gave him, it was good, but it didn't mean shit. Because like I said, they didn't have him main eventing, and they weren't giving him the good stories. They had John Cena in all the main event storylines as if he was still their champion. Like, they were like, all right, we'll give Punk the title to shut you fucking internet fans up, but Cena is still going to work all of the title programs. That's what it felt like. But getting into some of the other matches of his, so the Money in the Bank match, obviously. A match that I think it gets a fair amount of recognition. He had a match on Raw with Cena. I want to say, when would it have been? It must have been before the Rumble, because Punk left at the Rumble. No, he left at the next Rumble. So after Cena won the Rumble, he wrestled CM Punk on Monday Night Raw to decide who was going to face. Like, he put up his Rumble win against Punk in the main event of Raw. That match is a 5-star classic. I can't give you the exact date, but you can find it. It's the first time I've seen a pile driver in a WWE ring in years. When Punk hit that pile driver, I popped hard. I think that might have been the first match where Cena tried to hit... Was it the Springboard Stunner? No. He hit the Hurricane Rana at Money in the Bank. Cena pulled out some wild shit that night, too. I just rewatched a fucking incredible 5-star match with Punk. CM Punk vs. Daniel Bryan Over the Limit 2012. They kicked the shit out of each other, man. Holy hell. But yeah, CM Punk is my favorite wrestler of all time, guys. I think he's the best on the mic. I think he's one of the best in the ring of all time. He created a style very unique to himself that made him very entertaining to watch. He always felt anti-establishment, which had the same allure that Stone Cold had. I think my number one dream match of all time would have been Punk Austin. My number 1 and 2 fought. Punk and Taker have a long history, actually, dating all the way back to SmackDown. But they had an epic feud around WrestleMania 29. in which they delivered the match of the night. Yeah, but CM Punk's my favorite ever. If he ever comes back, which I hope he does, I would love to see him work with heel Roman Reigns, maybe Seth Rollins. Hell, I would really actually like to see him work with a lot of the guys in AEW. And if I'm being honest, the way I keep hearing more about WWE's backstage scene, sorry I can't talk. This I'm getting to a point where I'm considering watching less WWE and more AEW because I just don't agree with the political side of WWE. The Saudi Arabia deals, the treating your talent like shit, the Twitch stuff, it's scummy. And I wouldn't mind if Punk debuted in AEW. I gotta tell you, I might go there and never come back to WWE. But that is my top 10 favorite wrestlers of all time, guys. If you're still here, thank you for hanging out with me. Sorry for my little sneezing fit in the middle. I have allergies going on like a motherfucker right now. You guys all understand. Rough time of the year with COVID going on. But it's also just like cold season, so everybody's nervous. Just stay safe. Stay safe out there, guys. Social distance, wear a mask. Please like this video, comment on the video, share the video if you don't mind, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. The goose is out.